Coming up on this episode of Design to the Nines, we are preparing for our Patriotic Tablescape with a couple of Pottery Barn dupes and another bonus dupe at the end. So much stars, so much stripes, so much fun. If that sounds good to you, then stay tuned. I'm Natalie Callahan, and if this is the first time we're meeting, hello and welcome. I'm so glad you could join us, and my hope is that you'll enjoy the content so much today that you would consider subscribing to my channel below and turning the notifications on, because I bring you weekly tutorials on all things to do with the home, and I've got a lot of really fun things planned over the next few weeks, and I would hate for you to miss a thing. Today's episode is in conjunction with Yami from the Latinas Next Door Look for Less Challenge, and her co-host this month is Casey from Coffee with My Sunshine. Now, I have enjoyed so much participating in this challenge, and I've done some fun Pottery Barn dupes. I've done some from Williams-Sonoma. Next month, I have a dupe planned for Ballard Design, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. With all of the fun patriotic holidays coming up, I'm going to be doing some projects that will be knocking off Pottery Barn items. I'm really excited about it. I love knocking off Pottery Barn items. However, I do buy them sometimes. But I've got some really great dupes for you today that's gonna save you a ton of money and look so adorable for your patriotic themed tablescapes. So I went over to Pottery Barn's website looking for some inspiration for 4th of July, and I saw some really cute things there, including a table runner. And the table runner had two options. One was stars and stripes, and then one was just stars. And I just loved them, but they were $70 for the runners, and I knew that we could get the look for less. So the table runner is going to be an all stars, but I knew I needed to bring the stripes out for my patriotic themed table. So I went over to their napkin section on Pottery Barn, and I came across these really cute ticking napkins. And then I looked at the price tag, and it was $90 for a set of 4. I was just totally blown away. Beautiful though. I loved the way they looked. So I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna make some. Making napkins is gonna be so easy. So I got my star fabric from Hobby Lobby on sale for $6.97 a yard. I got 2 yards because I wanted to have a little extra maybe for this project a little bit later, but I think we're gonna be able to get away with squeezing out in 1 yard of fabric, and I'll show you how we're gonna do that. My red and cream ticking I also got at Hobby Lobby, and it is a really soft fabric. I think it will make great napkins, and it was on sale for $3.49 a yard. I got a couple of yards of that. I don't think we'll use all of it, and so I'm really excited about it. Now, I wanted to offer you 2 different ways to do it because I know not everybody sews and doesn't feel comfortable sewing or have a sewing machine. So I'm gonna do each project differently. So for the table runner, I'm gonna be using some iron-on adhesive, and so there won't be any sewing on that. And for the napkins, I just wanted to sew those and just have the nice hem on it. I learned how to sew when I was 8 years old, and my husband actually sews. I'll probably be in the doghouse for sharing that with you. So if I can learn to sew at 8 and he can sew, I promise you guys, you can do it. Buy an inexpensive sewing machine, possibly borrow one from a friend or your parent or somebody who has a sewing machine that would let you try it out. So making napkins would be a perfect way to start your sewing. It will be easy. But again, I wanted to offer you 2 options, so we're gonna do both. So let's get started. This will be a no-sew option for you. And you can take these principles and use them on the napkins if you'd like. But again, we're just gonna do it on the table runner for this one. We're gonna be using some heat and bond tape. You could use peel and stick. It's basically adhesive tape. You're gonna need an iron, so I've got mine heating up. I've got a Rowenta. I love my Rowenta. I can't believe the difference having a good iron makes. So this fabric is only 45 inches wide. If you were able to find a fabric that's similar, that's 54 inches wide, you could do the 108 inches that the Pottery Barn is. I'm only gonna do 90 inches, which is the width of this, twice. because my table's a little shorter, and so it will work just fine. You could also cut it the other direction as well. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna measure my fabric to 19 inches, and then I am just gonna cut on that line, and we're gonna cut 2 panels. And at some point you can just fold it over on itself and use itself as the pattern. Okay, so now we've got our 2 panels, and before I start doing anything, I always like to press out my fabric so you can get out any wrinkles and have a nice fresh start. All right, so we're done ironing our panels, and what we are going to do now is we are going to take our bonding tape out of the box so we can use it. And if you hear any background noise, I apologize. They're building a house next door to ours, and they are working outside today, and they've got loud music going on, and they're having a good time. So we're gonna have to put a seam in ours because I'm using 2 panels, and I thought that that would be okay because I'm gonna be putting a centerpiece over it, and I just didn't think that it would be a big deal if it had a seam in it. So we're gonna take our hem tape and we're gonna match it up to the width of our runner. And then we are going to cut it. And then we're gonna iron this on. And just to protect our iron from getting all gooey, I'm just gonna put a paper towel down. And you can see that we've got the tape on. And now we need to peel it back. And we are gonna take our other panel and we are gonna put right sides together and line it up really nicely. Just kind of slowly iron it on. It doesn't take too long, but you want to make sure that you melt the glue. You should have a seam. Okay, so I allowed it to cool and then I kind of folded it out and pressed down the middle just to create a nice crisp seam. Now we're gonna start doing the edge banding. Now I'm only gonna be using this maybe a handful of times, so we'll probably pull it out on Memorial Day and 4th of July. So the proper way to probably do this is to go around, create a lip, and do like a finished edge. But I'm just gonna leave the rough edges exposed, and that's gonna be fine. It's not gonna be getting heavy use. So I think that it will hold up just fine. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of repeat that process on all of the seams. So just follow the instructions on the box as far as how long to hold the iron down. That creates a nice crisp line without stitching. Okay, so our table runner is done and it turned out great. And our version was about $10. And it could be $7 if you decided to sew it. The bonding tape was about $3.50, and so you're about $10.50. The original was about $69.50 or $70, so a really good savings for an almost identical look. The pros of working with the heat bond tape are that you get a finished product that doesn't have any stitching in it, as well as you don't need a sewing machine or any sewing skills. The cons against it are that it takes a little bit longer than it would to have sewn it, and the center seam wasn't quite as flat as you could get it by sewing it, because you can open up the fabric and flatten it out really nice and flat. But honestly, for a table runner, this is great. It's going to work perfectly on our patriotic table. I'm thrilled with it, so I think it's a success. Let me know in the comment section below if you liked this method, if you would prefer to use the heat tape over sewing, or if you like it for certain applications. Let me know that down below. Also, let me know if you think this is a successful dupe or not. Stay tuned with me to the very end because I have a special bonus project for you, and you're not going to want to miss out on that one because it's going to be really cute as well. I'm ready to start my napkins that are going to be just a ginormous amount of savings. What I'm going to do is this fabric should tear and give us a straight line, so I'm just going to start by tearing the fabric to get us on a straight line. That will help us just keep the squares nice and square. And sometimes it will like kind of snag a little bit, and you just take your fingers and run it along and pull out that snag. And we are making 20-inch squares, so what I'm gonna do is measure down 21.5 to allow some seams. And this should tear straight, so I just make a snip and then I rip it like so. And we're gonna just do it the same thing in the other direction. Make a snip. I usually snip about 1 inch so you have enough to grab, and then, so that's our first square. And it causes it to kind of curl around the edges, so I think at this point I will iron them out. That's gonna be so adorable. I love it. I'm gonna need 6 for my table, so you just tear out what you need for yours. I wanna show you how I do this, and I've already done it on the sides, but we just fold it up like 1/4 inch, and I'm just eyeballing it because this doesn't really need to be that perfect because we're not hemming something. It's just to have a nice finished edge and not have a frayed edge. So I'm eyeballing about 1/4 inch, and I'm pressing it down with the iron, which creates a nice crease. And this iron does a fantastic job. We're gonna fold it over about 1/2 inch. Again, I'm just eyeballing, but what I want to show you is here on the corner. I actually fold it on a 45-degree angle, and I kind of tuck that in. You don't have to do that, but it just gives it a more finished quality. With this all ironed and with all of these edges ironed down, we are ready to sew. So I'm gonna sew up the seams to this. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes, but if you're not sure how to sew, you're gonna wanna pop on over to my IGTV channel because I show you all of the sewing basics from threading the machine to winding a bobbin to doing a straight stitch. It's all on my episode this week over on IGTV, so if you're not sure how to sew, you're gonna definitely wanna check that out because this project is a perfect starter sewing project. It couldn't be simpler, and you could totally do it. You just need to get a little bit of learning basics. If you already sew, then all you do is sew it up, and that's what we're gonna do right now. I promised you a bonus project, and that's what we're gonna do right now. On Amazon, I found a couple different options as far as flag banners, like kind of like the long, narrow kind of flag banners to hang outside. I wanted to do that kind of like behind the food table or like on my arches outside. And I just thought that they would be really cute. The ones that I found online were about $33 to about $45 per panel. And so it was a little bit pricey, and I thought that we could do a little bit better. And I thought this would go really well with our other projects today. So what I found is I picked up this red and kind of off-white striped outdoor fabric from Walmart of all places. It was about $7 a yard, and I got 2 yards of it. And then we have left over of the star fabric from our table runner project, and then I cut it down lengthwise down the center, and that's gonna be the top portion of our banner. And so that's already pre-cut. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this fabric, also cut it down the seam lengthwise, and that should give us 28.25 each panel. We should be able to get 2 panels out of our fabric, making this a very affordable project. And the fun thing about these projects are that once we make them, we can use them year after year after year. I have my panels cut out, and doesn't that look like a flag? We're gonna start by sewing these 2 fabrics together. Then we're just gonna hem around the entire panel, and then I'm gonna create just a little pocket so that we can slide it onto a dowel. Our panel is complete. I will hang it on a wooden dowel outside. If you want to see what it looks like all finished and hung and everything, then you're going to want to stay tuned for next week's episode where I do my Patriotic Tablescape poolside. It's going to be amazing. So stay tuned, but that's what we got so far. Our projects are done. This is our no-sew table runner. Looks so much like the original, $10 versus $70. And if you wanted to save a few extra bucks, you could sew it and it would be a little bit cheaper because you don't have to get the hem tape. But that turned out so good. I'm so thrilled with it. And then our set of 4 napkins. These were about $5 versus $80. Massive savings, same look. It's awesome. I am totally excited to do this tablescape. I really loved my Easter table and I really loved my Thanksgiving table, but I am telling you, this is definitely going to be my favorite. It's going to be poolside. It's going to be just so much eye candy, you can hardly stand it. So you're going to want to come back next week to see that for sure. It is going to be just a blast. I've had so much fun putting it together. So if you liked today's episode, hit the like button below. Consider subscribing to my channel below as well and hitting that notification bell if you don't want to miss out on a thing. I've got so many fun things in store for you. You are not going to want to miss it, and it really means a lot to me, all of your support. I'll see you next week with my big 4th of July tablescape poolside. So much fun. I'm so excited. We'll see you next week. Bye.